Gen AI is really going to only account for about 15% of the both disruption and the productivity and GDP improvement. Most of it's still going to come from traditional machine learning and traditional AI. Gen AI will accelerate, they think, the impact, but I think we just have to make sure we're thinking quite holistically about this, because more traditional AI and machine learning actually tends to affect more frontline, blue-collar jobs, particularly ones that are quite rote. And then at the other side of it, Gen AI affects actually knowledge workers, and particularly is quite disruptive. Interestingly, the more educated the job that's required, or level that's required for a job, the more likely it's to have disruption. So you have to actually be thinking about both those things, but not lose sight of AI and this whole hype of Gen AI. I would just say, if you look at that the revolution is sort of tapping on the door, and it's certainly not kicking the door down. While I think there's enormous opportunity, if you look, and even for ourselves and what we're deploying and what we're seeing in our portfolio companies, outside of these platform things like Copilot, ChatGPT, there's a few others. If you really want to have the kind of impact you want to have, or you want your portfolio companies to have, you need data. You need data, good data governance, you need good data tagging, you need to clear all the hurdles around compliance, MNPI, and that's just going to take time. We will outsource a significant number of tasks, and we will probably need fewer, but we will still be hiring, and I think that's true. I mean, again, we're very focused on Gen AI. If we talk about AI, I think there will be things that will completely go away, and that's the big challenge in this workforce transition. But I think a couple things both to not be worried about and to be worried about. One, analysts aren't going to go away. I see, at least our application, we're building what we're calling a research agent, which will help you tell, if I'm an analyst, mid-level investor, will help tell me what I should know about something, about a sector, about a company, macroeconomic forces, and an expert agent which will tell me who knows what about something. But our expectation is that it's going to be more of a trampoline rather than, a tractor that's run them over. And so we really see it as a way to help them get just much smarter, much faster. There is quite a bit of research that, quite frankly, whether it's call centers, BCG did this with themselves, is that these tools significantly help the poorer performers and the least experienced, and they do not help, and in some cases are actually counterproductive to the people that are the highest performers and the most creative. The biggest issue now is really taking the corporate strategy, which now has to integrate AI, machine learning, automation, and really deeply connect it to your talent strategy. What are those skills you're going to need in the future? Where are the sources of that? And then how are you going to make that happen? Not in some abstract form, but very specifically. And then also not throw it over the fence to the L&D and HR and say, okay, go make it happen. Because that actually does not work. Like, it has to actually be owned by every manager. And really understand the friction that is there. And as board, we are always asking those questions, like, what is the actual outcome measures? What are the platforms and tools you're using? Because there's a plethora that have been, invested in over the last 10 years in particular. Gloat's one, there are many. And then how are you really thinking about mindsets and behaviors to change this? We're actually building a zero hallucination environment. Everything that comes back will be attributable to an artifact of data that you'll be able to click on and look at, but also you'll be able to upvote it. You'll be able to downvote it. We're creating a prompt library because most people give up because the prompts that they do, you don't get back what you want. So for an investor, we're untethering it from the investment process. But we're saying, what are those critical questions you want answered? And then building a prompt library for the type of investor you are. So I'm spending most of my time on how do you actually get past the learning barriers, how do you create near zero hallucination environments, and how do you actually get over in the appropriate way, the compliance and the concerns of our external parties, so that you actually get something that can be a true trampoline, but you know where it came from and you know how it can really be valuable to you.